Oh yeah, that ring and so this it to do it that also. Oh, much it, much your book and this is so no condition to
So then today, just in the capsule of this short time, then in terms of how we need to organize for our lives to go well, how we can think for our lives to go well, I wanted to once again speak a bit about that.
Oh, that's you Thomas, you keep it, and I was saying, that, and then is with the Hive. Akosarawas, or that do not Kanga Mavazoya. There were Mato Pada. Akosarawas, or tan Donata, so that Nesni.
So then the holy beings, they have stated that from now until we reach our goals, to be able to completely be rid of suffering and to be able to achieve a stable, lasting happiness, there are two important things to which we must pay attention, especially as beginners.
Tawa tenju tu jeba chawa me ba sa ta ten ni de ro so le ton bi ka ni ka chen bo ta ni de ni pe ha ko sa ra wa so ta de ma kanga me ba ma so pa ha ko sa de wa kanga ma ta ba da o ta ten ni ka chen bo.
And so what are these two important things? The first is the view of dependent arising, and the second is the conduct of non-harmfulness. And this view and conduct, these two things will remain important for us all the way until we are able to completely be rid of our suffering, until we are able to achieve that lasting happiness.
레와야 버드 베체도 토케이나는 연지대 벌써 수바대야 주주 손으로 대치가 야레스 대라요 단다테니 같이 거래 아니 다 몸보 찍으는 다 내서 대세스 그게 다치 뭐시 마타나요 롱기대 그게 여보 리아가 선서 아까 살아왔 온도야 그 선서 좀 뭐야 뭐치알아 대라요 단다테니 할 레위 같이
So these two are important for all of us, whether we are a practitioner who strives mainly for the welfare of others, or whether we are a practitioner who strives mainly for our own welfare. And of course, this is determined based upon one's capacity and aspiration. If one has a very vast mind and aspiration, one uses this human brain and intelligence to strive to achieve the benefit of others. However, if one is a little bit more limited, one still strives in a positive way to achieve meaningful welfare for oneself. Whichever of these two that you aspire to, the view and the conduct, are very important. So then, all of the beings that are holy beings now, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, they cultivated these two things, the view and the conduct. So this happened by first meeting good Dharma friends and then qualified teachers, and then on that basis receiving explanations about these topics. Then on that basis, mixing the instructions with their mind, and then slowly they were able to come to a refined understanding of these topics. So then all of us, if we think in the correct way, indeed both ourselves and any human being, because of this human brain and intelligence, we are able to contemplate the view of dependent arising and the conduct of non-harmfulness in a very deep and full way. However, in the beginning, then we can definitely start to think about it in easy ways, about these topics in easy ways, and gradually reaching a more profound understanding. Any human being with intelligence is able to do this.
pena suji chode des sena mumbai ina te tembi do pozo ya res koro ina yo tomo ngaro su chi ba ras o tanda teni la tene umanda wa ko sara was o ta tanda teni lo jo tanda teni ja cher tu ne la tama rungi tem tashin ba jenje tem tashin ba do to su.
So we understand that what the Buddhist teachings are saying here is the same for all of us, that any being who cultivates these two, the view and the conduct, who study and practices in this way, and is able to reach a vast and profound realization, is able to achieve in a meaningful way their own welfare and in a meaningful way the welfare of others.
하카사라와스 다 드리치니 다 치기쇼네 케만에 다 치기한테 치바 많이 나요. 하카사라와스 다 단다이나요. 세리바이나요. 오다 손지동 고르겠다 보게 로트 할레비 체 도버를 세게 세리 다시 맞지. 연바도 바지라 텐도.
And so somebody who is able to practice in this way and understand these the view and the conduct, whether Buddhist or not, if they cultivate these to the fullest extent, then in fact they become sort of a scientist of the mind.
하카사라와스 어떤 나로서지 다 양도 멀리 뭐서도 쓰이나요. 하카사라마 동보텔라 어다 실리 치바지 연바도 같이 뭐 말했어. 정말 동보대 소소소 보게 셀 하카사라 디세 여바 제도 뽑아 여바. 뭐저 여본도 더야지 하카사라와 디세 여바. 거기 니바 여바.
알레 로소
어다 들이 제 둬야 돼. 소소가 강에 소소가 매가서 더야 보게 하카사라 또 니바도 여바 지도 둬야 돼.
So all of us, any person, of whatever religion or whether religious or not, what we need to do in the beginning is to focus on our own mental development, the development of one's mind. And by doing this, we are able to achieve a capacity within the mind, a power within our mind. And in that way, we are able to get rid of our problems in a very meaningful way.
하고서라와서 미하 오다 당기 내서 이티가 가르쳐요. 소소를 끼고 가는 예를 내와 마시 예를 가지도 펜바더쇼 예를 펜바더나 될라 때는 롤을 대wan 주그래 땡주에서 다니니 저지 하고서라와
So
그로 들어가로 배셔도 또나 예를 펜바더나 될라 때는 롤을 대wan 주그래 롤을 내봐 예를 내봐 시나 될라 때는 롤을 강연 주그래.
So how do these two fit together? How does the view of dependent arising and the conduct of non-harmfulness fit together? Well, first, in terms of the conduct of non-harmfulness, we try to benefit others, and at least we don't harm them. On the basis of benefiting others, then we create the causes to receive happiness ourselves. So this is actually a teaching on dependent arising. We see that they fit together very beautifully. On the basis of trying to help others, we achieve happiness. That's a dependent arising. And similarly, if we harm others, then we create the causes and we later experience suffering. So why is this? It's because we understand that the suffering and happiness do not arise in the absence of causes. We understand that suffering and happiness arise from the appropriate cause. So this is a teaching of the dependent arising of cause and effect.
하카사라와스 어떤 나로서 이나요 뭐세찌게 되도 이나요 하카사라와스 대화도 두나이나요 체 첨보이네 아 첨보서 그래 첨보이네 주주이네 언제도 제 뭐뭐 찔라테는 용이야 하카사라와스 어떤 것이 가지네 이 메저 난다 되는 게 돈에 손을 떠나 때는 또예요.
So we understand that in terms of this happiness, in terms of this lifetime, whatever happiness we experience, whatever suffering we experience, then this arises from the appropriate causes and conditions.
세타다 데니라든 하고 도요 아래 스테소노 돈도나
Yeah, so if we think about this, we can see very clearly how this suffering and happiness arise from causes.
하고 살아와서 아니 빼나 가로서 단다 데니 베제 마도나 나와 텐주에서 대하게 저도 뭐뭐질라 때는 용거 요바도 따제 마잖아 하고 살아와서 어다 실로는 요 요보지도 채우게 되는 원소 잡아시야 얘도 짜지도 채우게는 원소 보게 동화시야 본도시에는 때는 가로서 노도 뭐뭐 저왕에 뭐뭐 될라 때는 소석기 보면 봐 예로밖에 보면 봐 강가 줘야 되나
So what happens if we don't contemplate an awareness of this dependent arising, if we don't contemplate an awareness that suffering and happiness arise due to causes and conditions? Well, then what happens is we begin to focus on outer objects. So when we encounter an unpleasant outer object, then immediately aversion and anger arise. When we encounter a pleasant outer object, then immediately attachment arises. And because of this strong attachment and aversion that arise, then we become very unhappy, we run into conflicts with our friends, and all other sorts of problems. Yeah.
호제도 제 가르라 되는 슈도 아까서라 대가로 된 노다 가르도 대가로 노아티 지선로나 폐 가르도 어때다제 제게들라 그래 할래비 뭐지시야.
So we have to use our brain a little bit to think about these things. What happens when our mind is always just kind of immediately, thoughtlessly following the directions of the appearances? What is the problem that arises when we think that these appearances are arising from their own side and that they are arising in the absence of causes and conditions? And what are the problems that happen when we just kind of follow the feelings that arise due to those appearances? So all of these are things that we need to think about.
아까 살아와서 다 대포게 자체를 가져도 도와이나요. 예, 내서 대포게 통할 할레베 배도 제모지. 근데 대토 소나타니 강에 가리 이나요. 제모만로 휴휴소 도야. 강에 대 매바소 도야. 물론에 그거게 니바지라게 아까 살아와서 저로는 노아가 근데 지스만로 와제 가디나.
So if we are able to contemplate in this way, then eventually through this understanding of dependent arising, we are able to understand the way things really are, how things actually exist or abide. And then in this way, instead of having a small problem that becomes very upsetting for us because of questioning those appearances, seeing if they really have a pinpointable essence or not, and so forth, then we are able to diminish the hold they have and the subsequent suffering. And in this way, we stop this habit of just kind of mindlessly following and reacting to appearances.
하고 살아와서 왔다와 땡주에서 대한테 자체를 놓나. 하고 살아와서 왔다 땡또 전쟁이 땡주 간데스. 아니 땡이 답이 땡주 간데스. 아니 다 또비도 아son지 땡주사 간데지세. 왔다 대해서 그게 할래비 아침과
And so then in this way also we are able to expand our understanding of dependent arising. We are able to develop the understanding of dependent arising of cause and effect, mere designation, and so forth. 3 types of dependent arising.
하고서라와서 미지세 가르레스. 나로서 너무 강가시에서 시tem보지 와레 시우나 소설. 예라. 근데 손스 tem보지 와레.
나.
너무 강가시에서 시. 하고서라와서 어다이 좀 소소이는 나사 tem보지.
예.
니네 매바지 하고서라와서. 예이나요. 내서 간디지 통화이나요. 예 내서 매바지 나로서 너무 사바지 소리 와레. 대 매바져야 되라. 오다 당기 땡주서 아제 뜻도 보겠어요. 소와 tem보시나.
So why is this the case? Why is this the case? It's because we have the foundation within our mind for the arising of the afflictions. We have this idea that the self is something that is arising in and of itself. We have this conception of others that is mistaken. And so then what we need to do is we need to get rid of this mistaken foundation within our mind through the teachings on dependent arising. And then from getting rid of this mistaken foundation, this misunderstanding, then we will eliminate the cause for the arising of the afflictions.
하고서라와서 어떤 나로서 야멜로 잡아이네 샤데츠바이네 어떤 가름게 숑바도 니지 공바이나요 하고서라와 녀몰 니네네 도야데 이 이미지 따와 땡주 사야데 베제 마토나 니네네한테 따던도 도요 말레스 칼레칼레한테 도본 너나.
So as we kind of get to higher levels within our practice, we'll see no matter what kind of prayers we do, no matter what kind of meditations and so forth we engage in, no matter because of this reality of cause and effect, if we actually really want to be able to cultivate an antidote to the afflictions, we must cultivate an understanding of these teachings on dependent arising.
하고서라와서 어떤 이니 민저 버게 마리바 두슈티가 고로그 선스 가르레 고로그 선스 때 메바서야 될 이니 민지 땡주 세대한테 또는 거르마도 연다 숑바도 니지 거나요 부탁받다 메바서 도 말레스.
Yep. So in terms of this worst kind of ignorance, we need to think like what is this what is the antidote to ignorance? And then we will see that it is only the cultivation of these teachings on dependent arising. And I'm sorry I missed a bit from before. No matter how much we cultivate love, compassion, and so forth, they are not the antidote to this ignorance. So they will not be able to get rid of it.
하고서라와서 가르레세레 숑바도 니지 코로스 선스 때도 마리바 두슈 때 나저 마리바 세한다고 하고서라 니모 관계가 짜와티가 선스 때니 뭐또 맞다다래요.
And so why is this? It's because even though these are positive minds, love and compassion and so forth, in terms of the worst kind of ignorance, the ignorance grasping at the self, which is said to be the root of all of the afflictions, because they are not direct antidotes to that self-grasping ignorance, they are not able to get rid of it, to root it out.
하고서라 다테타타 릴라보도요 말레스 저저뭐 레모고 그요아레 데이자 소소 보여줘야고 하고서라 템보 제너라나 갈레갈레 땡데 통해.
So then on the basis of this, what we have to do is we have to ask questions and get the right kind of answers. We have to study and practice well, and in that way we will be able to develop an understanding of dependent arising.
하고서라 스치동아로서 때데 야 땡주 같이 뭐 임바 다 세게 되니 길레나 말레나요. 하고서라 땡주 같이 뭐 임바 때제 간주 관계 하고요. 가르레서
So Geshe said that even generally, if in terms of this teachings on dependent arising, if we can't really from the bottom of our heart develop like a conviction that this is something important, at least in a general way, even if we study sort of worldly or more sort of general topics, we see that they are pointing to a reality of these causes and conditions and dependent arising.
하고서라와서 이나요 같이 뭐 될라 될로 로바 제바 처음에 봐 사디 그게 심디가 로바 제마 떠나 어떤 정도를 딱 너가 가진 로조 가제 제가 할래 비다 보이나 대표에 하고서라 세 주작 쇼는 로소나 냐모 쇼 로소나 되는 정도를 너가 강가 될라 되는.
However, all of this modern education without an awareness of the conduct side, the conduct of non-harmfulness, well, we can see what the result is, all of the wars and conflict and violence that happen in the world. If we don't combine our kind of deep knowledge and sort of modern understanding, science and things, with this conduct of non-harmfulness, actually we won't be able to ameliorate, to deal with the world conflicts. So then, in terms of this determination that I will try to benefit others as much as possible, and if I can't benefit, at least I will try not to harm them, this is something that will only enhance our practice of dependent arising. It will only enhance our cultivation of that understanding. The two go together. Okay, thanks very much, Tashidele. I will stop here.